Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third and final day of UK GSE CICS Working Group 2023. We're kicking off the day with Phil with his second presentation. This time, again, deep from within the bowels of Hursley House in their broadcasting control room. Without further ado, happy birthday, Phil, as well. I understand it's your birthday today, so many happy returns from GSE. And here's Phil with how to start your CICS modernisation journey. Take it away, please, Phil.
Hi, thanks, Rob. So my name's Phil Worklin, and I'm working CICS development. This talk is all about how to start your CICS modernisation journey. And we're going to look at a lot of the IBM patterns in this area and how they apply to CICS, and particularly to customers using Java and other open enterprise languages in CICS. So just a quick whiz through the disclaimers. So just starting at the high level, why are companies prioritizing application modernization? And these figures come from a Forrester study saying that over 40% of companies surveyed viewed modernization of existing applications and infrastructure as a top digital transformation objective. So what's interesting about this is that how directly linked digital transformation and application modernization are for so many clients. And while the perception is often that modernization involves migrating an application to a public cloud, this study finds that more than 58% of organizations plan to at least start modernizing the application in place. So this is telling us, I think, what a lot of people know today, and that is that application modernization is key. Modernizing applications in place is a great way to proceed. We all know that large-scale applications can be difficult, and the larger the modernization project, the harder it is. So looking at things in a stepwise, modular manner has got a lot of benefits. So according to Gartner, application leaders responsible for a strategy to build a digital platform should, number one, exploit and extend the value of legacy applications by removing obstacles, and use continuous modernization as an alternative when a rip and replace program would be too costly. So there's two key points there. So extending the value of legacy applications has got a lot of benefit when you've got very large application portfolios, as we often have in CICS, and continuous modernization, so working on things in a stepwise modular manner, is a lot lower risk and can achieve faster benefits than a sort of rip and replace. So that's a couple of views from industry analysts. So IBM's approach to application modernization is built on these application modernization patterns. So I'm going to talk a bit about this. We've got quite a lot of assets available, and I'll give you the links at the end. So it's based around continuously modernizing applications and data on Z, with the potential to significantly reduce the cost of application modernization, reduce the time involved, especially the time involved in delivering value, and reduce the risk associated with rip and replace migration strategy. So all this ties in with IBM Z systems in a hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is a key part of IBM's application modernization strategy. And with IBM Z systems in a hybrid cloud, you can create a hybrid cloud infrastructure with your IBM Z systems integrated with your cloud systems. So let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. So this diagram breaks down the application modernization patterns into four discrete components. There's application, data and integration, event-driven, and lifecycle enablers. So application modernization, applications is the key part where CICS applications fit into this strategy. And we're going to talk more about applications in light of this. Data and integration is very much focused on databases, data stores and integration. Not going to talk so much about that, but that's still a key part of modernization. Event-driven architectures. CICS does have some event capability. We're not going to talk so much about that. And then life cycle enablers are the life cycle, so the DevOps side of things with consistent CI/CD pipeline. And we do have quite a lot of tools and facilitators in CICS to help you modernizing the life cycle, which is a key part of the application modernization journey. So looking at applications in detail, the application modernization patterns break the strategies down into these 5 areas, and we're going to look at these 5 areas. So we've got expose, extend, refactor, rewrite, and co-locate. And these 5 things are 5 different sort of sub-strategies within an application modernization strategy. So expose is quite simple. It's about exposing applications and data through APIs, through RESTful APIs, and we've got tools that help with that, such as CICS Connect. Extend is about reaching out from core applications on Z to cloud native applications, so calling out to RESTful interfaces like Amazon Web Services. Refactor, I think we all know what refactoring is, and that's refactoring key components of the application into discrete services, which you can obviously then locate in the cloud or call out and locate in other components. Rewrite is about rewriting and modernizing selected functions incrementally, and I think that's clear. And co-location is very much looking at locating applications close to IBM Z and leveraging the containability of the software on ZCX, co-located on the same physical hardware. So we're going to drill down into these in a bit more detail. So this is expose and extend. So it's looking at exposing and extending application data through RESTful APIs. So business drivers for this are when there's a need for new applications, cloud, mobile, and so on, new interfaces, new applications, customer-facing applications or whatever, to access business critical data. Many customers have been down this road, got existing CICS applications, you've got a new mobile banking application, and with tools such as CICS Connect, it's relatively easy to take those existing applications, take their interfaces, their COM areas or channels and containers, run them through the tooling, create a RESTful service that sits on Z, integrates with the CICS application, provides and exposes an API to the external world, and bingo, you've got a new application sitting on top of your legacy application. The CICS Connect Enterprise Edition is the key bit of software in this area, as I mentioned. CICS Connect Enterprise Edition is IBM program product. It's built on top of a Liberty application server, but it incorporates the Liberty runtime within it. It's got all the extensions provided, and it's a turnkey solution. So you pull in the copybooks that you want to expose, run them through the tooling, you create artifacts, you deploy those artifacts, the SAR files into CICS Connect, their services. So we provide the Eclipse tooling and the runtime, all contained in the CICS Connect package. And then CICS Connect has got connectors for CICS. It integrates with CICS using the IPIC protocol, but it also has connectors for a wide range of other IBM subsystems, IMS, WebSphere MQ, DB2, and so on. So a great way to bring value onto Z systems, cloud value onto IBM Z systems. Here's a couple of examples of how ZEOS Connect has been used in customer scenarios, looking at the extend and expose patterns. So with the extend pattern, the Australian bank, they were extending an application. So they enabled some account provisioning application. Remember, extend is when you're using an outbound call from ZEOS Connect, calling out to some other outbound cloud service provider, integrating that with Z, and here they enable their account provisioning application. Expose, about exposing existing assets, such as CICS programs. North American Bank, they leveraged a third-party service to do this. Also got great value from ZEOS Connect. So let's have a look at refactor. So refactor is when we take a large composite application, often sort of monolithic applications, and take components of that jigsaw, refactor them, often using another language. So you've got existing COBOL application, large CICS COBOL application. Maybe you can refactor certain components of that application using an open enterprise language such as Java, perhaps, and then those components can be exploited and used in another system, so they could then be moved into a cloud environment, run in a container as a microservice, and they still integrate with the existing application. So it's a process of replacing hard to main code with new code. Why do customers need to do this? So the customers I've dealt with that do this often want to do this because A, there's a business driver to update the code. There's new function they need to put into the code, so they need to invest in the code. And secondly, quite often it's a skills issue. So if you've got large COBOL application suites or even assembler, PL1, then skills availability can become an issue. Customers realize that open enterprise languages such as Java are a lot easier to maintain. There's a lot more skills available. So the refactoring provides a lot of value, makes the code easy to maintain, and provides a long-term path for modernization. So rewrite. So rewriting functions as cloud native patterns. So in this case, rewriting selected functions as a cloud native patterns. This enables you to take core parts of applications, so core parts of CICS, COBOL, IMS applications, modernize them, rewrite them as cloud native patterns, so you can then actually deploy them into a cloud native environment. So you can put them into a container environment. There are several sort of strategies that can be used in the rewrite area. You can rewrite as cloud native applications for API based integration. That's we're all quite familiar with APIs. You could rewrite them using open enterprise languages such as Java, and then co-locate them on the same environment as the existing applications. You could replace with a packaged solution. Often customers use packaged solutions on Z for banking and other purposes, and there's a lot of packaged solutions available. Or you can redeploy an existing COBOL application onto the cloud with a hybrid cloud architecture using our hybrid cloud infrastructure for those COBOL applications. So one of the patterns we see a lot is rewriting open enterprise languages, rewriting using open enterprise language based functions. So in CICS, Customers have very large application portfolios, and we've got a great Java runtime in CICS. So customers are able to take components of their application portfolios, rewrite them in Java, and in CICS is a mixed language application server environment. So you can have Java components, COBOL components, assembly components, PL1, C components, all within the same application suite, all within the same CICS task and transactions, sharing the same security and transaction context. So that is one of the key benefits of the CICS application runtime, as I'm sure a lot of you know. And this is a pattern that is proving very popular in CICS with our CICS JVM server functionality, with our OSGI JVM server, and now our link to Liberty JVM server functionality. You can link from COBOL to Java and from Java to COBOL seamlessly in the same CICS transaction and maintain your existing transaction and security context. And this enables you to modernize it very much in a stepwise manner. You can take different components of the application and move more components, modernize more components as a business need dictates. So I mentioned co-locate. So the co-locating, co-locate supporting apps closer to the core apps on Z. So this is really looking at the CICS, sorry, the Z container capabilities on IBM Z Linux. So you've got the ability to co-locate applications on Z Linux on the same physical hardware as ZOS. And then you can use the low latency communication that Z provides. So that's hypersockets and SMC capabilities for low latency, high bandwidth connectivity between over TCP/IP between components in the same physical KEC. Okay, so we're just going to flip speeds now and just look at a few real life application scenarios where customers have been down this road and modernize their applications. So this is a rewrite pattern using APIs to deliver functionality to clients during the global crisis. So this was a large automotive manufacturer. It's a blinded use case, and it was actually it was a financial services client handling car loans, not manufacturer. And it looks at the need for accelerated innovation responding to changing markets. So this was during the pandemic, enabled customers to enable digitization of business processes, enabling client needs to be met, and business capacity focusing on recourse on processes requiring manual customization. The solution was built on ZOS Connect Enterprise Edition, generating REST APIs, which was the scenario talked about a bit earlier. And the process automation was based on modern technologies, Kubernetes microservices, and the ZOS Connect API enablement. A couple of other scenarios looking at extend, refactor, and co-locate. Extend, we had a large financial organization, and they provided accelerated account services, so real-time account provisioning by reducing account opening and provisioning time with new cloud native functions, so calling out to cloud native applications. Refactor and co-locate, another large financial organization. They modernized the batch applications by refactoring embedded business functions, looking up less frequently, changing customer information, and so on. That provided improved customer data, shared with other business functions, optimized MIPS, and a big reduction in batch window, enable them to standardize some core functions, and they're talking about currency conversion here. So that's refactor and collocate. So that's some of the key customer scenarios. So then a brief look at data. I mentioned data. So data is another key part of application modernization patterns. And this is very much focused on modernizing access to existing IBM Z-based data. So this virtualizing data to provide in-place query, caching selected data residing on Z for high performance, replicating data residing on Z, and transforming data residing on Z. So I'm not going to talk too much more about data, but there's much more detail available in the reference material if you're interested in data modernization. Event-driven. So event-driven patterns. Events are notifications of a change of state in an application. So notifications can be issued or published, and interested parties can subscribe and act on the events. So the issuer of the notification may well have no knowledge of the event being issued or the action being taken. So in CICS, we've got quite a bit of event-based technology that we delivered here early in the version 5 CICS TS lifecycle. So we've got the ability to create event capture specs and to integrate with IBM's event-driven technology. So event consumers can consume those events in real time, and they can then drive further processing from those events without modification to the existing applications, which I think is one of the key things about events. The next component in the lifecycle was lifecycle enablers, if you remember. So the lifecycle enablers are the sort of softer components that enable the process. So a key part of application modernization has to be modernization of the processes associated with application development. So enterprise DevOps. So enterprise DevOps and perhaps also application discovery. So mining, analyzing your applications, and then modernizing and automating the DevOps processes that are used as part of the application development pipeline. So this is just looking at a sort of typical enterprise development pipeline with code, analysis, build, provision, deploy, test, all in a life cycle as part of enterprise development and operations. So the first component in life cycle is pre-deployment. So that's the planning and analysis. So that's enterprise discovery. So discovering what applications are available, analyzing the code, building it, early tests, debugging with standardized IDEs. So IBM has a rich set of tools in this area, from ADDI and other application discovery tools to IDZ and the application development portfolio that all goes with IDZ. And then post-deployment, you've got the whole deploy and release life cycle. Key to this is automating application deployment, automating the middleware configuration. We know that the configuration components in middleware, in CICS and other systems, is very complex, and though their CICS resources are critical to the functioning of the application. So managing the deployment processes associated with application releases is a key part of the DevOps lifecycle. Then test. So continuous testing is a key part of DevOps, and and the key part there is is continuous testing. So being able to test at every stage of the process as code is promoted from development to test and into production at each stage of the process. A lot of enterprises these days still have some manual testing steps. So automating those into a reproducible and easily managed, easily run, easily analyzed lifecycle is one of the key lifecycle enablers in the application modernization story. So enterprise DevOps is really just DevOps. We've got to remember that IBM Z Systems is just another platform. DevOps is widely practiced and implemented throughout the industry, and IBM now has a great set of tools to help you with DevOps. An application pipeline needs to be heterogeneous, so it needs to cover Z and support all elements of the application regardless of the platform. That's one of the key take-homes. Compliance, security, and audit controls can all be built into that DevOps pipeline. And as we get the commonality across the platform, that helps us to bridge any divides between different platforms in the enterprise. So just a last plug actually for Galassa. So Galassa actually is a project that's come out of the CICS development team based on some of the test framework we've developed here in Hursley. I don't have any more details about Galassa, but there are further talks available. So Galassa is an open test framework that can be used for testing and automating testing of components on Z. So that's one of the key bits of infrastructure you can use in this space if you're looking for technology. It's open source. It's available on glassa.org, I think. If you want any further details, then Will Yates is our hybrid cloud architect. I'm sure we can talk to you about Galassa. This is just about everything I've got. There's just a few slides to highlight the resources. So there's a lot of resources from the IBM Institute of Business Value about application modernization. There's some really great presentations that talk about the application modernization patterns and some further customer scenarios that talk about some of the modernization patterns. In this chart, we've also got a few more details about, I think, State Farm, Aruvia, and Swedbank as well, about some of the customer scenarios that you can read about in a bit more detail about the application modernization journeys. Okay, so thanks very much. I do believe I have finished early, and I've given you a whole 32 minutes for your coffee break. Thank you.
As predicted, Phil. Thank you so much. I think it's a really interesting presentation. I'm sure we're all coping with the modernisation journey at our sites in different ways. And it's great that we've got these kind of options. I think extending our applications is kind of in our wheelhouse, and IBM provides us those tools on a regular basis. And the bit where you're refactoring is probably the most interesting one about how to get it to work. In my experience, we've been looking at re-engineering parts of our enterprise architecture without really thinking about performance or latency. And this idea of being closely coupled, if you've got a very chatty or a very busy application, works really well. And I think that the question on everyone's lips is, how do you decide where to platform your application? A lot of folks want things off host in the cloud, for example, where latency is a bit more of an issue. And there's no real guidelines as to, what transaction rate you've got per second or what response times and where you platform things. And that's certainly something that we've struggled with. and I'm sure all of you guys will. And I think the only way to cope with this is to share experiences and try and work things out between us. I think it's a really easy thing to do where it's low volume and you're a small customer, and the larger customer and the more interrelated your applications, the harder it is to do. But probably sounds obvious to everyone. But really good presentation, Phil. It's great to see all the things that are available from IBM to help us. So thanks very much. Have we got any questions from anybody on the chat?
No, there isn't.
Okay, well, we'll just plug Galassa again then. So we have got a very poorly Will Yates at the moment, who's an excellent speaker, and we're hoping to wheel him out with a chest infection and get him to speak this afternoon. I think Stu Francis is backing him up with one of the sessions. But yeah, testing, test frameworks, test automation, it all fits into this journey. So I'm looking forward to some of that this afternoon. So without further ado, I'll post the link. Please give feedback, folks. And the next session is at 10:30 with our very own Steve Foley, who's giving us an overview on upgrading to 6.1. I can't see why that would justify an hour's session, really. It's only a 5-minute job, isn't it? Upgrading fix doesn't take very long. So looking forward to that at 10:30 with Steve. Thanks very much, everyone, and see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you, Rob.